It's officially summer. To me, that always means road trips and family vacations and that kind of thing. But sometimes you have to take a bigger road trip and you're not really sure where to get started with that kind of thing, especially if you've never done it before. And so I wanted to share some of my tips and tricks of what things that we have found helpful as we have done some cross country trips together as a family. Hey everybody, welcome to Mile High Homeschool. My name is Megan, and if you're new here, I like to make videos about homeschooling and homemaking from my perspective as a second generation homeschooler. I realize a lot of families like to just put their kids in the car like at bedtime and try to drive through the night and do it that way. That has never really worked well for us. Our kids have never really slept well in the car. So I wanted to give you guys some tips of what it's like when you're driving through the day, because the trip that we are doing right now, actually, that's why I've got a different background and filming in a different area. If you could see how I've got the camera propped up right now, you would laugh a lot. But I'm actually in our hotel right now because we just did a 16-hour road trip, and it's 16 hours one way, and we do it all in one day. And so these are my tips and tricks to hopefully help you guys when you have to have long trips like that too. This is how I create a plan for our road trip and a kind of a schedule and itinerary. I do one of these for our trip out and another one for our trip back. And what I include for everything on it is I put when we're leaving, what our first stop is going to be with the address of the gas station that we're going to. I always try to make sure it's a 24/7 gas station. I try to make sure it's a bigger one like a Love's or a 24/7 travel stop or that kind of thing. I think back east, Casey's is a pretty common one. I don't know, just like a bigger truck stop as opposed to like just kind of a random one, because usually the bathrooms are a little bit cleaner and that kind of thing. I put down how long it's going to take us to get there according to Google Maps, and then also the miles from our current spot to that spot. And then I find a playground in the city nearby that's like at a park close by or that kind of thing, and put the address of the park at it. And then I also put the expected arrival time. So like if we left at 4 a.m., it's 4 hours and 11 minutes to get there, plus the time change. We're actually not going to get there till 9:15 a.m. at Kansastown, Kansas. And then the time that we need to be leaving by. And the reason why I have a gas station and a playground on each stop, and I will do this for every single stop until like we get to our destination, is because I find that it just works a whole lot better if we have a chance for the kids to burn off their energy and have a plan for how to do that. So usually when we roll into a gas station, the way it works is whoever is driving immediately starts filling up the car, and whoever was the like passenger parent gets out and takes the first kid in to use the restroom. Then whoever is doing gas will go ahead and get our youngest out and change his diaper because he doesn't need to go into a bathroom. We can just do it there in the car. So we change his diaper. Then the other parent will usually be back out by that point in time, and the third child gets a chance to go in and use the restroom and come back out. Now, we don't do anything else at the gas station. We don't buy any snacks. We don't get anything. We just immediately get back in the car as soon as it's done filling up, buckle up, drive over to the playground, and then play at the playground. And usually, if we're pretty quick about it, we can get to the playground within about 8 to 10 minutes from when we first pulled in, because usually we're not stopping when the tank is empty. We're just stopping when our kids would pretty much be done. So I try to keep the stops between 3.5 to 4.5 hours. Our first stretch of the day is usually quite a bit longer because the kids are still asleep. So our first stretch of the day is like 4.5 to 5 hours because people are sleeping and we can push it just a little bit longer. And then the stops after that are about 3.5 to 4 hours because I find that's about max for our kids. And so then we get the time to play at the playground and burn off some energy and that kind of thing. Then we hop back in the car and start driving. And sometimes we switch drivers, sometimes we don't. It just depends on how whoever was driving feels. They can choose if they want to switch or not. And then usually when we get back into the car, we go ahead and that's when we get food and get snacks and that kind of thing. Usually, like if we get back in the car and then do the whole process of food, it knocks at least like 45 minutes to an hour off the next chunk of the drive because that time is taken up by prepping the food and eating the food. And so kids are more distracted and more entertained and that kind of thing. I do one for the way out to where our destination is, and then one for the way back, because so I even try to be very strategic about how we have our car set up. Because there's just the 3 kiddos, we always have an adult riding here in the back seat with them, simply to facilitate snacks and helping kids and clean up squabbles and that kind of stuff, so it's just a little bit easier. One thing I've started doing is we do a map in the back, and my daughter actually did it this time, which was really cute. And so we pin up a map on the ceiling that just shows the details of, like, here's where we start, here's where we end, and then I just do little like pictures and symbols and stuff and add labels, so that way as we go we can like move the car along, and it very much helps the "are we there yet" questions from happening, so that way the kids can see where we are and where we've moved to and that kind of thing, and then they can see it on the way back. And I've got stops marked on there of like, hey, we're going to stop here for gas, we're going to stop here to play, that kind of thing. So we have that in there. So that's how we have the back seat set up usually. One thing that I picked up from my sister before road trips as well is that I always get my kiddos some fun toys and activities that they get to have in the car that are brand new to them. And so they're like road trip gifts that they get to have. And I just get cheap ones either from like the dollar spot at Target or the Dollar Tree, or even just ones off of Amazon, that kind of thing. And so this trip, what I ended up picking up was some little like suction cup thingies that they can play with, some wiki sticks that are like the string with wax and stuff on them so they stick to each other. And then the last thing I got were those like doodle pads that you can draw on and then push the button and it erases. We had an old one, but it had like gotten all dented up and scratched, and so I got each of the kids their own doodle pad for this trip. So once again, not anything really big, but something new that can hold their attention for a little bit longer than their current toys. I don't have it in the car yet because I'm not done packing it, but we usually keep backpacks full of toys in between their seats. They're in the middle, and so toys and activities there. Then I have a basket full of books from our house and from the library that are just like a lot of the search and find books that you can get. Where's Waldo? The ones from the library are like other search and find, like themed ones. There's another one, Dinosaur Detectives. So board books and search and find books and that kind of thing to keep them busy. Book-wise, I keep there. I also keep the backpack that has the tablets and the Nintendo Switch and that kind of thing up here with me, because I don't really want the kids playing with it and doing a lot of stuff with it either. Then down here in this section, we've got a trash can. I'm going to put a bag full of snack food and that kind of stuff. And then I usually have this like lunchbox thermos thing that I will show you guys that I keep here in the middle. So that way the person in the back seat can take care of eating and that kind of stuff. And then because there's an adult that's going to be sitting back here the whole time, we want to make sure that they have lots of space so they can stretch out and everything. So the front seat, we push as far forward as we possibly can, and I like angle it up and everything, so whoever's in the back seat can have as much space as possible for sleep and comfort and that kind of thing. Then when it comes to front seat stuff, usually front seat, we're going to have cooler here, like a big cooler full of food and snacks and that kind of stuff. Anything like that we want instantly available for us will be here on this front seat for whoever's driving and stuff like that. And then it's easy for the person who's just there in the back to be able to reach through and grab stuff out of the front seat. I pack a bunch of snacks for us, and I actually plan all of our meals so that we eat 100% in the car. We're never stopping at a convenience store or a gas station or at a restaurant or fast food or anything like that. I pack all of our snacks for the trip. Some of them are just like dry snacks that we can do. Like I've got some of my gluten-free crackers and then crackers for the kids and stuff like that. Some snack bars for the kids. Like these are for all of us. These are probably more for me than anyone because I really enjoy those. Gummy bears and M&Ms. I always let the kids pick out some junk food candy that we're going to take with us. Because it's like, hey, we got junk food in the car. We don't need to buy it at the gas station. So I just take it with us. These pouches, I'm going to use the applesauce to make like applesauce pouches. I've got some more. That way we have them. And then there's a couple things that I go ahead and cook and bring with us. Like I'm going to make some chicken nuggets. I'm going to make some like potato crusted quiche. Going to bring jam and peanut butter. And then I've also got oranges and apples and bananas and cherries and stuff fruit-wise that I'm going to bring with us. I'm bringing a loaf of bread. Like I said, normally I make my own, but I just ran out of time this week. And part of that is because I want to have foods that my kids are familiar with when we go there and get there. So that way I never am stressed about them eating or having to sit there and like deal with food battles. So we're going to be staying in a hotel this time that has a little kitchenette. So I want to have food and stuff on hand. So like if a day gets crazy and we don't have time to stop and have lunch before we need to go back to the hotel for naps, or we need to go back to the hotel for bed or something like that, we've got food at the hotel. But then also I bring stuff so we have food on the road. So like the quiche and the chicken nuggets and stuff, that's going to be part of our stuff on the road that we're going to eat. And I also grabbed like a little charcuterie tray thing of like meats and cheeses, of just like lunch meat and cheese already pre-cut up to have with the crackers. And I pack a bunch of it in our coolers with like all the energy drinks that we want to bring, or fizzy water or that kind of stuff. So we've got drinks and everything in the car. And then this is like the greatest thing I found on Amazon. So it's like this lunch box that has a hot plate in it, and it perfectly fits a little loaf pan. So I put the loaf pan in there to keep the lunchbox clean, and you zip it up, and then you can plug it in your car. And so our car has, my youngest says hi. And so our car has a little plug in it. So I plug it in, and then it reheats the food. And so then the chicken nuggets and like the potato quiche and stuff like that, I'll heat it up. So we actually have like hot homemade food in the car, which is awesome. I love it. One thing that I'm really particular about is that I want to make sure we're careful when it comes to bathroom stops and that kind of thing, because we're pretty strategic with how we plan it. But I realized that like you can't plan everybody's bodies and stuff like that. So I actually have this little system here that we use for roadside pit stops if we need to. And I'll show you really quick how we set that up. The great thing about this seat in the middle is that it can fold totally flat if we need to. So if we have to do one of these pit stops and it's raining or bad weather or that kind of thing, it can still happen in the car without the child being like on the side of the road getting wet or that kind of thing. And so we lay down a puppy pad just in case. We have like a little portable toilet seat, and I put a trash bag in, and then I also add in a diaper, and we bring toilet paper, and then that way all the waste and everything is caught in there, and we can self-contain it in the trash bag, that kind of thing, and just like pull it up around, tie it up, and then it's like all self-contained. It's not going to leak anywhere. We can throw it away at the next gas station. This is still clean, and I don't have anything gross sitting in my car. And the last tip I have for road trips, guys, is really just your attitude going into it. Because I find that if I have this attitude that, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a hard trip, it's going to be so difficult, and I'm really grouchy and like upset about having to do this trip, then my kids also tend to reflect that attitude and be really negative and really whiny and really upset and fussy in the car. And so I just kind of have to be the extra positivity, be the extra enthusiastic person of like, oh my gosh, we're doing a road trip. This is going to be so fun. We're going to see cousins. We're going to get to do new things, and like really just hype them up and just kind of mentally prepare myself on my trip that I'm going to have to be the extra enthusiastic one to help carry the mood for the family and make that easier. And so my husband and I just kind of choose to be overly positive to make it easier on the kids, and then they pick up on that and keep that enthusiasm and excitement going, and that makes the trip a million times easier. Well, I hope that was helpful for you. I would love to hear down below what some of your favorite tips and tricks are for road trips and traveling with kids. I know traveling on planes and stuff is a whole other thing. We haven't done that in a while since it's more expensive to fly with all the kiddos and that kind of thing. But I would love to hear your travel tips and tricks, things that have worked well for you. Comment down below, share them out with everyone. I know that will really help the community. And thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.